Thank you so much for coming to see our talk here. How much of your paid content is open access? I'm Mariska Conley. I am the Cloud Source Director of Partnerships and Communications at CiRCE Dynix, and my colleague Rick Branham is also with us, and we'll be doing the demo portion in a moment. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is going to be information you already know, but let's quickly review. Open access, at least according to all of the original statements that came out from those who advocated for it in the early days, is free access to information and unrestricted use of electronic resources for everyone. Any kind of digital content can be OA, from text and data to software, audio, video, multimedia, ebooks, you name it. And how does open educational resources, or OER, fit into that open access bucket? OER is publicly available textbooks, workbooks, lessons, and tutorials that are designed to be free of cost with minimal barriers to access. So saving students, teachers, and other community members money on pricey educational materials. And they can range from K through 12 up through graduate level material. So there's usually resources for anyone at any type of library or educational institution. So just to give you an idea of how much OA is out there, there's a lot of it, a lot. Over 65 million scholarly resources are open access, including books and data sets. Over 51 million of those are academic scholarly articles. 61% of all scholarly works were published, scholarly articles were published since 2017 or OA, so 61% since 2017. 3.8 million open articles were published just in 2023. And if you're doing the math on that, that's 67% of the scholarly articles published last year freely available. And I'm talking about articles in Crossref. We're talking about reputable things here. But only 16% of it is indexed in the Directory of Open Access Journals. This is really important to know because a lot of librarians think if I toggle on the DOAJ in my discovery layer, I'm good, I've got open access covered. But the truth is you're missing out on about 84% of the open access that's out there. This graph here on the right, I'm going to see if this works for me, illuminates an anticipated shift in scholarly communication by 2040, where we anticipate close to 100% of peer-reviewed articles are expected to adopt an open access license. The primary driver behind this should be no surprise, it's funder mandates. So granting agencies are requiring OA publication models, entities such as the National Institutes of Health, all federal government agencies, the European Commission, and on the private organization side, you've got folks like the Wellcome Trust and the Gates Foundation and Microsoft Research. And all of these have committed to OA and require researchers seeking to use their grant funding to also have to publish in an open access license. It really reflects a global shift towards how scholarly information is published. I wanted to highlight this because in August of 2022, we saw the release of the Nelson Memo, which updated a 2023 memo from the Office of Science and Technology Policy. And I think it's going to make a really big impact. A lot of you will be familiar with that 1-year embargo period that a lot of OA resources have. This will require that all federally funded research is available immediately. That's data sets and articles with no 1-year embargo. And that goes into effect at the end of 2025, so it is just around the corner. And what we see when we look at all of our top ranked journals is that they're very high OA publication rates. In fact, these are the top multidisciplinary journals that we pulled just earlier this year, ranked by Cynego. Most of them are more than half OA, and many are just approaching or have already become open access. And we see this discipline by discipline. The higher the rank of the journal in that discipline, the more likely it is to have a high OA publication rate. 102,000 journals publishing OA content at our last count. And the largest publishers of open access content are the same publishers that have historically published the bulk of scholarly articles. They have high editorial standards and they're not lowering them for OA. These journals publishers will always want to publish the best research with the best authors. Those are the folks getting grant funding. So most of them are not pure OA journals. They're hybrid journals. So the publishers have made room for OA articles in their traditional subscription model, and those articles reside right next to articles that require subscription in order to access them. And unfortunately, what that means functionally is very often if you want to have those indexed in your discovery layer, you have to subscribe to it. Just a quick review. When it comes to OA not being from DOAJ, we've got only 16% of open access in the directory of open access journals. The rest are in hybrid journals and other colors of OA like green and bronze. So libraries are using traditional discovery platforms and are missing out on 84% of that. Hybrid journals are from the top publishers with familiar names like Elsevier, Wiley, Sage. But articles from hybrid journals are hard for users to find if the library doesn't subscribe to that journal. For the readers and researchers, a hybrid journal is not OA in any useful way. They remain subscription journals for all intents and purposes. This essentially puts the OA offerings behind a paywall and kind of allows the publishers to double dip a little bit on these. We mentioned many of the funders also. They're typically universities, federal and private funding research, and international organizations. At this point, it probably won't surprise you to know the impact of so much open access publishing has changed the composition of many academic databases, such as this one, that many libraries subscribe to. I'm not going to call it out specifically, but this popular multidisciplinary database contains 70% OA if you compare closed access journal articles with your open access journal articles, everything published since 2017. So what we're looking at is everything since 2017 in this journal, 70% of it's OA. And this represents a real database. We've done article-to-article comparisons on a lot of major databases, and the amount of OA is significant in a lot of them. However, you won't see any of this content if you don't subscribe to the journal, and it's not in the DOAJ. Most discovery platforms just don't index the OA portion of journals. It's an all or nothing kind of situation, which means you have to subscribe to even get to the open content. You might think that this free research is heavily STEM. I know for a long time that was a problem, but the trend's been shifting for a long time now. So this is a breakdown of what the top 25 subject headings look like today in our OA index. The blue represents subject headings for peer-reviewed journals over the entire time period. The orange represents just the articles published since 2017, so kind of our last 8 years or so. And it's really striking. If you look at just the 2017 articles, suddenly we have computer science in second place. Art appears in the top 25 for the first time. Law appears, and geology and surgery have disappeared entirely from that top 25 subject area list. And we see over the last few years, the subject areas in the global open access articles in general have started to shift towards equilibrium with other academic disciplines. And this here is just peer-reviewed, cross-ref indexed articles. If you look at the rest of our collection that includes OER, preprint materials, books, textbooks, it's sometimes even more striking how much additional content there is. It's not just STEM. The OA movement might have had its roots with science and medicine, but it's branched out and it's present now in every discipline and in every field. We also know it's popular stuff, so Altmetric is a company that looks to see the impact that research is having outside of academia. I'm sure many of you are familiar. To do that, they track the mentions of articles and news outlets, mention of articles and news outlets, blogs, policy papers, social media, and then they give each article a score and rank them. And 2020 was the last time they did this, so this is relatively recent. 71% of the top 100 open access articles, the top articles were open access, 71% of them. I heard about this new research in NPR, and I'd like to see the article. If you hear that from your patrons, there's a really good chance there's an OA copy of that article available. So let's play a little game here. The ingenuity and humor of librarians never fails to impress me here. So I found this at the University of Virginia Libraries. It's a little questionnaire they have there. So let me ask you this. Which costs more, their 2025 subscription to Sage Premier or a ticket into outer space on the Virgin Galactic Airlines? Anyone got any ideas? Do you think Virgin Galactic or the database? Database? You would be correct. So their database subscription is absolutely more expensive than a trip to space. And here's another fun one. This is from the University of Colorado Boulder. And you might have seen this one before. Which costs more, CU Boulder's subscription to Springer or Private K in the Bahamas? If you get subscription, absolutely. We aren't going to space or to the Bahamas right now. We're too busy paying money for subscription databases, as it turns out. So the journal providers and aggregators really don't want libraries to find out how much open access they're paying for, which I understand that. But what we've done is created a collection analysis to make it easier for libraries to know exactly how much of their paid subscriptions are owing. So we'll provide a breakdown of databases, journal titles, and subjects. We'll show you any additional scholarly content that you get. And considering there's 65 million resources in the database, very often that's a lot. And all we need from you is your database packages, journals, and vendors. We just need a list. You don't have to give us title lists. You just need to tell us who you've got and what they're providing. And we do this at no cost. So we're willing to put our money where our mouth is on this and show you exactly how much of your current holdings are OA. So now you've got an idea of how much OA is out there and how to go about figuring out what you have is actually open access. I'm going to turn this over to Rick to talk about how CloudSource can help. You're welcome.
Thank you guys for coming. Let's just dive right into talk about CloudSource and how it can help in your journey to find all this open access content that's available. So CloudSource is a new resource content platform from Circe Dynix. You may know Circe Dynix from our long history of creating ILS software and discovery software analytics tools. So this is our first big push into the content space. And so this is our new content platform. And again, it is, let me make this a little bigger so I can see my notes. It's part of our ecosystem called Blue Cloud, which is our library services platform. And it provides comprehensive aggregation, enrichment, management. So there are curation tools and discovery of these resources. All content type for all library types. So there's two basic offerings for CloudSource. One is our OA collection. So CloudSource OA currently has about 65 million open access resources. And those are articles, proceedings, data sets, reports, etc. And there's ebooks and e-textbooks, and we're going to see more of that in a moment. And also open educational resources, or OER. All that's part of the index. CloudSource Plus was just released this summer, so it just went into general availability. And CloudSource Plus expands that OA index by more than 1 billion records. So we're adding subscription content and on-demand fulfillment options. So with CloudSource Plus, you have non-OA scholarly content. You have popular magazines and trade journals, open or non-open ebooks, textbooks, multimedia formats, and news sources. So really, the whole gamut of information that you would want to expose in a discovery layer. So we're not just aggregating metadata from various partners around the world. We built a platform of smart tools that are enhancing the metadata. So to facilitate better discovery, we're adding things like more publication information. We're actually using some AI tools to add subject headings. For instance, we're adding abstracts and author information, citation information, reviews, things like that. Again, that'll facilitate better discovery. So let's just take a quick look at the discovery component, and we're searching the OA collection. And again, about 65 million resources, and I'm going to highlight some of the functions as we go through the brief demo here. So we're going to do a search. In this case, we're looking for climate change. Bear with me a minute. I'm getting old and decrepit, and I can't see my screen very well. And I can't move. There we go. No, I have my window so small I can see what's going on. Let's start over again. All right, so like I said, we can search on specific fields or we could search everything. It's what I'm doing here. Let's look for climate change. Got about 300,000 records. By the way, we do have a Wikipedia widget you can enable or not. Gives you a good grounding. We're also using some Wikipedia disambiguation tools, which can be really helpful when you're searching very broad subjects. The whole range of filters to help you narrow down the specific formats or the peer-reviewed status, publication dates, the fields of study. And again, we're using some large language processing to add field of study information to the metadata. Specific CC license, mesh headings. We have several filters regarding the OER content, like course level, material type, primary user. So various ways to filter down. I'm going to say peer reviewed equals yes, and kind of eliminate a lot of the news stuff that's coming up. And I'm going to search within the result set looking for hurricanes, certainly appropriate to this area. And let's narrow down to recent publications. So I'm going to include 2023 and 2024. So you see this top hit is a good article, a lot of good information on the brief hit list. By the way, you can copy the search strategy, so that includes all the filters or search withins or whatever you've applied. It's a nice way to drop that into a LibGuide or to a course page. You see the status bar here tells me the peer-reviewed status, the CC license type, gives me indication of number of citations and reviews, things of that nature. So a lot of good information right on the front screen. Now, one click took me to the full text almost instantly. So there's no challenge to log, there's no barriers to logging in, go straight to full text. There's also additional links. Sometimes there are preprints and other versions of the article you can fall back on. I'm going to add this to my list. If I want to build a list, I'm going to add a citation. So we have a built-in citation manager, more than 2,500 citation styles you can turn on or off. You can add style notes. You can link to a style guide. You can also let the user annotate the citation before they capture it into their clipboard. Or there's an option to export this to RefWorks or EndNote or Mendeley or whatever the user might be using. So pretty robust built-in citation tool. Let's copy that. See, there's an export to RIS format. There's also a permalink option if you want to share this or bookmark it. That's easy to do. We do integrate with our partner Third Iron browsing, and we've just completed a lot of additional integration work with LibKeep as well. So I'm just browsing additional issues and browsing. And then let's take a look at the detail of this record. So all those, it's maybe hard to see where you are, but all this stuff across the top are enrichment items that we've added. I'm just flipping through the detailed view to show you on this other hit. You see all the field of study information on that record. That's an example of the enrichment we're doing to add more fields of study using some AI processing. Anyway, back to the first record, you see multiple locations for the article. You see the abstract, the author notes, references. Now with the references, you can click right through to a particular reference, or you can open all of them in a separate tab. So there's that quick little tool that pops them all open at once. Super handy for a researcher to get to what they're looking for. Same with the published with references. Buzz, these are web reviews from multiple sources, and you know, we've been kind of trained to read reviews before we read anything or download anything, and this kind of fits that bill. So I can now look a little more closely at, sorry, there you go, screwed up my clicking. All right, so let's go look at the OA, the open ebooks and OER collections. So we're aggregating open ebooks from multiple partnerships with OAPN and DOAB, and occasionally we will add additional collections from sources that aren't already aggregated, like MIT Press. Open textbook libraries of partner, OER Commons, and just very quickly, well, we're at time anyway, and I just screwed up the last little demo, but anyway, we're going to do it again if you're inclined to follow us next door. But I still got a minute. So I'm just searching for social media teenagers. In this case, I'm going to limit by format. I'm going to limit to book and book chapters. And then we're going to see that you've got about 3,700 results. And so there's quite a bit of ebook content. And again, because this is open access, it's super easy to download that, and your users can save it, come back to it again and again, share it. Anyway, in this OER collection, there's also open textbooks. And again, there's open courses, lesson plans, activities, worksheets, all of that in the OER aggregation. Just very quickly, go to cloudsource.net. We've included a lot of embedded videos, so you can see a lot of what I've shown you today on that website. There are resources you can download, including some excellent articles like a 3-part series that Mariska wrote about the history of open access, and it's really compelling. We do weekly deep dive webinars every Wednesday at 10, so I hope you'll come and join us for that. And we got 2 more sessions here, one right now next door and another one tomorrow at 11:20, which is really compelling and more expansive. We're talking about how CloudSource stacks up against Google searching. We hear from a lot of people, I think horrifyingly, they say, why, if this is open access, we'll just tell our students to Google it. Like, really? Do you want to send your students to Google and see that space? But anyway, we're going to elaborate more on that tomorrow. So thank you all very much, and look forward to talking with you again.